Today is discharge day. We've actually been here in the hospital for 12 days, believe it or not. And I cannot wait to get home just to see how everything is looking. I'm going to jump like hands first and just start just knocking out chores and different things like that, trying to catch up. This has definitely put me behind for my spring show, but I'm sure we'll recover. I'm not sure, it just depends on how everything's looking. Have I lost any seedlings, things of that nature? We got the room all packed up. We just got to load everything onto a cart, because you know when you've been in the hospital for like 12 days, you accumulate so much stuff. But let me show you this view. This has been like the picker-upper, just being able to look outside, see the view. And at one point, I think I seen a coyote or a fox or a wolf. It was something. I just know it wasn't a domestic dog. But let me show you this view. Look at that, y'all. You talking about a view. So this has been my view. At nighttime, sit off and watch the highway traffic in the distance. Rush hour. Just give you something different to look at for sure. But the view of Forest Park, I can't really complain. Head home. We're going to jump right into it. I figured since I've been cooped up inside for quite some time, I wanted to jump out here and get a head start on my hydrangeas here. So it's several hydrangeas here in this bed. I know definitely I'm going to start with doing my hydrangeas that are inside of these containers. Now, my hydrangeas is inside of containers. These have been in these containers for over a decade. So it just goes to show that how long you can keep a hydrangea inside of a container. It'll still thrive. It'll still do well if you give it the right things that it needs. So we're going to prune these up really quick. And then if I have a chance, I'll actually move on to the hydrangeas in the bed here. Let me show you what those look like. So it's 3 hydrangeas in this garden bed, and if we can get those knocked out, then I think that we're ahead of the game to a certain extent. And actually, I don't know, once I start working, I might just come in and, you know, do a little bit more, a little bit less, but for sure I'm definitely going to knock out the hydrangea pruning. Here is a great example of a branch that's crossing over. It's crossing over here, but it's also crossing over here. So that's what I mean by anything that's crossing over. You just go ahead and you just snip them out. And it opens up your tree or your shrub so air can flow and circulate through there. I could keep messing with this, but usually what I do is I'll come back in and look at it, and if it's not shaped the way that I want it to be shaped, then I'll go ahead and I will, you know, just come back and maybe do a second prune just to clean it up, if you will. But I do like to take my time and get everything out the first time. We pruned both of the hydrangea standards. I did not get a chance to prune my hydrangea shrubs, but what I want to do is I do want to go ahead and pop in some type of flowers here at my front door. So let's head inside because I have some bulbs that I think that we can use. We'll check them out, see how they're looking. Here are our beautiful bulbs. We have some tulip bulbs here. And we're not going to be using the tulips because these are marked for another location in my home, but we are going to be using these beautiful daffodils here. Now, the daffodils, they look fine right now, but if we pull one off of the shelf, and let me turn these around, you can see that we have some blooms that are close to going over here. But no worry, because we planted these up using the lasagna method. So the blooms right here, they're starting to fade over. They're starting to push over. But what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of our second bloom. So we'll go in. You see how it's budded up? They're getting ready to just break. And so then we'll have our second flush of bloom. So we'll still have a show. Daffodils are not completely wasted, but we're not going to get as long of a show of them as I had previously planned for. I do want to water in the tulip bulbs to make sure that when it's time to use these tulips in a beautiful arrangement, whether it be indoor or out, they'll look fine, they'll be healthy, but you can see the soil is looking extremely dry, so we'll water these in. Both containers are finished, and it gives us just enough green to make everything start to look cheerful and let us know that spring is not too far off. I do think that I'm not going to go in and just use a lot of moss with these containers, but I do feel like I want to give them maybe like an obelisk, so that way if we have temperatures that really dip down, I can come out and easily just wrap them up. So I think I'm going to grab some obelisks. And in addition to grabbing the obelisk, we'll also grab the fertilizer as well. So what we'll do, we'll grab fertilizer because I do want to go ahead and give my hydrangeas there first. Actually, we're not even going to fertilize. I'll fertilize all of these at the same time, but I am going to run in and get the obelisk really quick. I have the obelisk. These jokers are heavy. I didn't realize they were this heavy, y'all. We'll set this one off to the side over here. And I think these are the ones that we used. I have a whole bunch of these obelisks. Every time I go to a garden center, because what I like to do is when I travel, I will go and the first thing I do is I head to the garden center. And when I first get there, first thing I'm looking for is containers. So I make a beeline. First thing I do. So let's see if these will go in. Yep. Let's see. It might be a little bit too large. We'll get this one on this side. And Penelope's upset, y'all. You know she loves to be outside. All right, so we'll just keep working these down in the soil. All right. Perfect. I absolutely love them. And these are perfect. I'm not going to cover up the soil because just in case we have somebody stop in and they want to look down there and see, yes, they're absolutely real, babe. Yes, that's how we starting the year out. We coming in cutting up. We starting the year out cutting up, as I do every year. So let's give them a little bit of water, because one of the things you want to remember when you're planting this early, you have to keep things watered in, because remember, water is going to add nourishment, and it's also going to add a little bit of insulation and give you a little bit of a buffer if temperatures were to plummet. So if you think about it in the sense of freeze drying things, you know how you put something in the freezer and you bring it out and you're like, oh, this is freeze dries. So because the soil is not really damp, we're going to go ahead and just water in the top layer of our soil here. Although we cut off so much of our show that was showing, because when we pulled the daffodils off from the shelf that they were growing on, you could see that they had so much color at the top. But again, we did the lasagna method, so that way we know that we're going to get a succession of blooms. So this is what we have out here, and as you all can see, you see it right there. So that's going to be our next show. So right here, you all see that? So these are going to be our next bloom here. Uber excited. Same thing over here. So this is what they look like. We do have a bulb that's showing here. So we'll just go ahead and cover that back up to give them a little bit of the added protection. You can see where we have some yellow starting to come up. So they're breaking their buds here. So I'm excited. Happy to get some cheerful color out here at the front entryway, because this is typically the first area in the springtime where I like to go ahead and pop some color in.